Hi, my name is Watson. Welcome. This is Shonen Spotlight. I love superhero media. Some of my earliest memories are watching The New Adventures of Superman with my mom. In elementary school, I couldn't wait to get home to watch the Justice League cartoon in static shock. I took my friends to see The Incredibles for my birthday in 4th grade, and it's still my favorite movie of all time. So you can imagine my ecstasy when My Hero Academia finally made its way to my weekly Shonen Jump subscription. A manga that's basically that movie Sky High that isn't all that great as I remember it being? Sign me up. Hiroaka is truly something special. Between the clean art in the manga, the creator's obvious love for Western comics and movies, the amazing adaptation by Studio Bones, and the many characters deserving at least a nomination for Best Something, shoutouts to Jiro, Bakugo, and Deku's mom, it's hard to find a shonen fan that wouldn't be all about this show. That's especially true for the Shie Hassaikai arc, the part of the manga the anime just finished up. I'd argue it's the best material Horikoshi sensei has put out, even if Bakugo had to take the backseat. It's largely self-contained, at least for the important stuff. It introduces and develops new characters, gives limelight to one of the main cast who hadn't gotten much to work with yet, and shows up at least 2 of the most striking panels in the entire series. I'm about to gush for a while, so make sure you've caught up through Season 4, Episode 14 in the anime, or Volume 18 in the manga before listening further. Links to the official release are in the description. Okay, so quick catch-up in the story before diving in. In the near future, humans began being born with special abilities now called quirks. Heroes have not only become a reality, but a viable career choice. Izuku Deku Midoriya was born into this world without a quirk, and through a chance meeting with his idol and the #1 hero All Might, he's given the most powerful quirk in existence, One for All. This power has been passed along through the generations for many years, and All Might was secretly almost too broken to continue being a hero. Deku was not the first choice to inherit this power, but he's done enough to prove that he was the right choice. And with his new strength, Deku was able to attend the most prestigious hero course in Japan at UA High School. There, he and his fellow members of Class 1A learn from professional heroes the skills they need to succeed in the field. Deku's biggest problem at the start is he can't use his quirk without seriously hurting himself. Through the first 100 or so chapters, he finally starts to control himself, but not without first damaging his arms nearly to the breaking point. And we'd learned things even All Might didn't know about the power passed down to him. There's been a sports festival, a field trip, and a summer camp, all with a superhero twist, 3 encounters with the final villain, Tomura Shigaraki, a man-child with a disintegrating touch, and All Might has been forced into retirement when his degrading condition became public. We've learned what makes 3 of Deku's classmates want to be a hero, and Bakugo, Deku's perpetually angry longtime friend and rival, has been declared best boy in almost every character poll in Japan and the US. Now a new threat has come out of the woodwork after All Might's last stand against All for One. An old Yakuza family, the Shie Hassaikai led by the charismatic Kai Chisaki, codename Overhaul, tries to rein in Shigaraki and his League of Villains to accomplish their goals with a little bit more finesse and a lot more Plague Doctor motif. They have found a way to erase quirks for good, using the blood of a little girl named Eri, and aim to end hero society. Overhaul, man. What a piece of shit. I'm almost sad he's gone for good. His power is viable endgame stuff. He even goes toe-to-toe with the League, killing one and maiming another. All for the purpose of returning the world to a time before quirks. To him, quirks are a disease that has kept humanity from progressing, hence the plague masks. There's something to be said about how Overhaul's actions resemble the real plague doctors of the 17th century. They rarely cured the people they treated due to their superficial understanding of the disease at the time, like Overhaul's shallow view of his own society and his own cure for their sickness. And many of those doctors were young physicians trying to establish themselves in the medical field, like Overhaul trying to keep control over the family members more loyal to his predecessor. He probably just thinks the beaks match his shtick and are aesthetic AF, as the kids say. Look, if I was born with a power like Scar from Full Metal Alchemist, ripping things apart with the touch, I might think the same way. Imagine a 4-year-old able to disassemble and reassemble anything or anyone his toddler mitts can grasp. It's no wonder he turns into a sociopath. He thinks what he's doing is right. He's just repaying the mob boss who saved him from the streets. And he feels no remorse for his methods, even when he has to hospitalize the man he's repaying when he's told to stop. A small girl, orphaned by her own horrible quirk, falls into his lap, and he literally tortures her to weaponize it. Fuck this guy, man. The League's revenge on him is one of the most threatening, effective, and cathartic moments in the entire series, but only after Overhaul shows off how truly terrifying he can be. Overhaul merges with his henchmen, slowly growing bigger and more monstrous until the only thing that could possibly take him down is Deku in a well-implemented Deus Ex Machina to keep him from killing himself. Horikoshi was firing on all cylinders for the art in this fight too. There's an incredible spread on the second and third pages of chapter 157 with Overhaul desperately reaching down for Eri. His arm cuts through the page, creating other panels between his spread fingers, with dark, sketchy outlines conveying the danger behind that touch. Shigaraki has a lot to live up to in the final arc. Now, Overhaul is a smart guy, but he's naive. His worldview is simplistic, and Horikoshi sets him up for a moral beatdown. Shortly before Shigaraki and Overhaul meet, the first years at UA meet a trio of third years: Myrio Tintin Togeda, Tamaki I Really Wish I Weren't Here Right Now Amajiki, and Nejire Girl Character Hado, the big three of UA. Now forget about the other two because this is Mirio's story. We're told how close he is to being the top hero. We're told how he was going to be the one to inherit One for All before All Might met Deku. And we're shown how hard he had to work to get there. If you're familiar with the X-Men, you'll know his power set is similar to Kitty Pryde. He can make specific parts of his body intangible, and he's able to pass through solid objects. His own father, who is completely supportive of his son, admits to Myrio that he gave up on becoming a hero himself because he was never able to control the quirk they share. It's pointed out that intangible eyes don't catch light. Intangible ears can't hear. Intangible lungs can't hold air. How traumatizing would it be to lose control of yourself and fall through the ground? I wouldn't go to the third floor of any given building with this quirk. He has to ripple his power through his body so he can stand on the other side of the wall after phasing through it without falling through the floor, bashing his face against the near side of the wall, or getting otherwise stuck. A feat he's able to accomplish at full sprint. It's only through constant training that Myrio is anywhere close to effective in a fight, and he takes down all of Class 1A, sparring 1v20 without breaking a sweat. Even with his potentially debilitating quirk, Mirio's a goof, constantly smiling and upbeat, even when on patrol and faced with danger. The perfect example of a great hero, almost to a fault. He's still fallible when it comes to making the right decision in the field. He and Deku are given the task to scout out Shie Hassaikai territory under the guise of a normal hero internship, and they immediately run into Overhaul and Eri. It's obvious that something is up when Eri clings to Deku, but Myrio lets Overhaul talk them out of removing the abused from her abuser with some baloney "this is family business" lip service. Regardless if it was the right move for his mission and kept them out of immediate danger, Myrio had the chance to save Eri, and he left her with her abuser. Not to mention, if they had taken Eri from Overhaul then, this arc probably wouldn't have ended as tragically. When Myrio learns how badly he fucked up during the briefing before storming the Yakuza hideout, we're giving my favorite single panel in the series. Go to page 16 of chapter 135. Myrio and Deku are small and alone, center frame surrounded by negative space, conveying the weight of guilt dropped on them. From this point on, Togeda goes ham to correct his mistake, easily taking on Overhaul and his minions on his own. And how can you not love a guy who names his special move Phantom Menace? Did I mention Horikoshi loves Western media? It looks like nothing is going to keep him from saving Eri, but when Myrio backs Overhaul into a corner, Overhaul is forced to use one of his few quirk-erasing bullets he's made and aims it at Eri. Myrio jumps in front of the bullet for the girl, sacrificing his quirk for her. Quick flashbacks remind us the impact of the effort that he's just lost, his desire as a child to become a hero and save as many as he can, his struggles training his difficult quirk, and his relationship with and its positive effect on Amajiki. making it all the more impactful when Togeda gets back on his feet and keeps fighting without his best weapon. Deku may land the final punch, Uraraka may detain him, but this is Overhaul's true defeat. Myrio's spirit is the antithesis to Overhaul's premise, that quirks have only hindered humanity since their appearance. Myrio would not be the man he is today without his quirk, and he only had to work so hard because his power was so superficially bad. And he only worked this hard because there were heroes saving others to inspire him. I really hope he gets his quirk back when Eri can control herself, but even without his power, Myrio could still be a top hero. It can't be the best arc in a series with this many characters if only a see-through boy declares candidacy for best boy. Following Bakugo's rise to the inarguable best boy in the previous arc, it's hard to see any of the Class 1A boys worthy enough to even gaze upon the glory of Lord Explosion Murder. True to form, Kirishima don't give two shits about Bakugo's attitude. He strides right on up center stage and says, "Hey bro, I love what you're doing out there. Good hustle." Slapping Bakugo's butt and slipping his 8x10 and a "for your consideration" letter in your pocket. Up to this point in the story, all Kirishima had really done was been a really swell and swole guy, being a friend to Bakugo at his most abrasive, and causing many a fangirl to runneth over shipping the two. I can admit being a chill bro and being adjacent to Bakugo's earlier triumphs has some merits, but otherwise he's what, a stony boy who fought a steely boy to a draw that one time? There's just not enough there. But once Horikoshi put him out on his own, it's another story. A backstory, if you will. All of Class 1A was working on their special moves, and Kirishima having one of the less flashy quirks, all he could really do is solidify himself to a state he dubs unbreakable. Now it's a pretty big boast to call yourself unbreakable, but Kirishima's the kind of guy that could make you believe he was indestructible based on confidence alone. We see earlier in the arc that this form can tank dozens of knives, so it's not an empty brag. It took one flurry of hits from the first Joe Schmo Yakuza goon with a strength quirk for Red Riot Unbreakable to fail. Kirishima is stunned, his forearms bloodied and broken from guarding his face. His ultimate move, his immovable wall, met an unstoppable force. But he does not stop. Just when the pro hero he's paired with is at his limit, Red Riot steps in and tanks another round of blows in his battered state. As Kirishima thinks to himself how afraid he is as he passes out, his backstory begins. He didn't pop out the womb as the spiky boy we know. In fact, just 1 year earlier, he was a decidedly smooth-haired, dweeby white knight, unable to stand up to even schoolyard bullies with a quirk that turned him from a soft boy to a slightly less soft boy. But he tries to stand up to them anyway, because that's what the hero Crimson Riot would have done. As long as a man has a chivalrous heart, his quirks got nothing to do with it, he would say. Of course, when Mina Ashido, his future UA classmate, is able to easily succeed where he failed both with the bullies, and when a group of girls from his school are approached by a threatening figure, he bemoans his weak quirk and nearly gives up on his dream to go to UA because he feels like less of a man. Textbook toxic masculinity is not something you expect a shonen battle manga to be able to have any kind of direct commentary on. Most shonen protagonists are embarrassingly oblivious to societal norms, off in their own world of becoming the strongest fighter, ninja, president, pirate king at nationals. It's that escapism that makes the subgenre so appealing to young boys and the young at heart. That overwhelming high of achieving your goals in spite of anyone who would say you can't is only that affecting because we live in a world where someone is always telling you that you can't be this, or you have to do this like that, because the way you want to do it is just not how it's done. It's limiting, and that need to conform even when you can't is absolutely depressing. For Kirishima, the ever-smiling, ever-comfortable Kirishima, to be the character of all characters to struggle with this is especially interesting. Kirishima thought, as many have at one point or another, that to be a man, you have to be brave and strong, and always stand up for the weak and the women. But chivalry, as we've come to accept it, is not what Crimson Riot meant. Kirishima finds an interview where Crimson Riot elaborates that chivalry isn't a male concept. It's not being fearless, because no one faces danger head-on and isn't scared. It's not even about confidence. It's acting when it's time to act despite your fear, to live life without regrets. In these chapters, Mina, is the most chivalrous, and Kirishima finally realizes it. He trains his ass off, he gets into UA, and decides to make his high school debut with spiky red hair. And he makes sure to specifically give himself 2 horns like a certain pink girl he knows. It's simple and emotionally resonant stories like this that help this series stand out, and there's a good moral for the younger crowd too. Hell, there's a lot of adults in my life that could learn a lot from this story if they'd be receptive to it. Okay, got through all that without saying Kirishima gets hard. Anyway, this is Deku's story, right? He does some stuff too. He's with Myrio when he's introduced and gets bodied by him. He almost convinces Myrio to save Eri when they run into her on the street. He's with Myrio in that amazing panel I was talking about earlier. Now that I think about it, he's mostly just with Myrio this arc. Deku, I love you, bro, but you gotta step it up. There are people popping up through the floor to take over your story, man. I mean, I guess there's some smaller stuff with Deku trying to get All Might and his former sidekick Night-Eye talking again. Ooh, Night-Eye. I haven't talked about him yet. He's actually really important. Not for his future side quirk, because that's kind of stupid, and not because he was All Might's sidekick. Night-Eye reminds us, the viewer, that there are stakes for heroes, and that characters can die in this story, even the ones you perceive important. On top of that, both his and Eri's quirks could easily break this story. Horikoshi wisely removes both from the board at the end of this arc, slipping Eri in his back pocket for later, and ending Night-Eye's story. The anime elevates this scene with the most powerful use of a held note I've ever heard in an OST, using a drawn-out note to mimic the flat line on the monitor at the end of episode 14. Damn it, I love this series. There's so much more small stuff on this arc I could go on about, but I'm on page 5 at this point. It's time to wrap it up. The next half of Season 4 is going to be a lot more fun, and Jiro's going to step up to best girl status, just watch. This is our Davy backfight, guys. Now, if you don't know what that means, please go read One Piece. While you do that, I need to rewatch a few more things for next time when I jump back into the Anime of the Decade series. If you found me on YouTube, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode and comment on why you love My Hero Academia or what other series you'd like me to cover. If you found me in audio form, please be sure to follow me on Twitter at Shonen Spotlight and on Instagram to leave your suggestions there. Links to all my social media pages are in the description. You can find me and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and TuneIn. Once again, my name is Watson, and this is Shonen Spotlight. Until next time, see ya.